Sexual orientation refers to whom one is erotically and romantically attracted to. This concept, to a certain extent, is culturally bound and determined. We live in what's known as a heteronormative society, meaning that heterosexuality is assumed to be the norm, and our social cues and interpretations often revolve around those norms. Social institutions and social policies reinforce the belief that sexual relationships ought to exist between males and females. Cultural representations of virtually every aspect of intimate and family life, dating, sex, marriage, childbearing, and so on, presumes a world in which men are sexually and affectionately attracted to women and women are attracted to men. In a heteronormative culture, heterosexuals are socially privileged because their relationships and lifestyles are affirmed in every facet of the culture. There is a privilege of being heterosexual in our society, in that the images and the expectations revolve around what heterosexuals do and the lives that they live. The concept of the closet metaphor is that when one does not fit into the heterosexual mold, then a person may not feel comfortable with sharing their sexual orientation with some people. If society assumes that all its members are heterosexual, then the person who does not fit that mold may have a decision to make as to when to allow others to know that they are not heterosexual. So one either makes a choice to share this information, or they face the possibility of being outed. And of course, this issue is one of social control. Historically, our society has tried to keep anyone who is not cisgendered and heterosexual under social control, keeping them silent and invisible. However, in the past several decades, society has become more open to more categories of sexual identity and orientation, though some segments of society are not fully embracing categories of people other than cisgendered heterosexuals. A couple of key points, too, before we move on, is that masculinity tends to have a higher value in our society, and that sexual orientation is not static. It can change over a lifetime. As Alfred Kinsey pointed out, it's a behavior. It's not an innate characteristic and thing of itself. And Kinsey saw the notion of homosexuality as a social and medical artifact and not a thing inherent to the person themselves. Newman also wants to make you aware of the intersection of race and sexual orientation, and he uses the concept of the down low to help illustrate that. What Newman wants you to grapple with is the idea of having two identifiers that exclude you from the mainstream community, and that African Americans tend to be even more disapproving of homosexuality than whites. And in Newman's own words, faced with the sometimes volatile and destructive combination of racism and homophobia, many gay black men reject gay culture and live their lives on the down low. Most of them date or marry women and engage in sexual activity with men they meet anonymously at bathhouses, in parks, or over the internet. While some of these men participate peripherally in mainstream gay culture, they are not known as gay by their colleagues or families. Even down-low men who say they prefer sex with men are adamant that the gay label does not apply to them. They identify themselves first and foremost as black, which is taken to be synonymous with being masculine. Indeed, masculine appearance is an effective defense against accusations of homosexuality because of widespread stereotypes that equate homosexuality with effeminate men.